Babe of the day. Babe of the day. Catherine Zeta-Jones. When she broke out in the 1990s, Catherine was just it. She was cool, and she made cool movies. Unlike a lot of A-list actresses at that time, I would watch a movie just because she was in it. I knew she could act, and I knew she was going to be hot. Catherine was born and raised in Wales. Although Catherine plays a lot of eloquent, seemingly well-to-do characters, her family was of modest means. Her dad ran a candy factory, and her mother was a seamstress. As a 4-year-old child, Catherine was so full of energy that her parents enrolled her in dancing school to burn some of it off. One thing led to another, and this just became her life. She participated in school shows, and it grew from there. Catherine became a national tap dancing champion. At 11 years old, she played the lead role of Annie in the popular musical of the same name. This would have been in Swansea, Wales in 1981. Throughout her teenage years, Catherine furthered her education and training in musical theater. This was just her thing. She ended up in London because that was always the primary destination for aspiring entertainers in Britain. Dancing is not what would make her world famous, but here's where the connection between dancing and acting begins. Catherine became a pretty good study of people and figured out, very quickly, what they wanted out of her in order to get parts. In other words, she knew how to read an audience. Great actors do the same thing. Since the leading roles of musicals require acting ability, everything she was doing began to gel. Throughout the late 1980s, Catherine became the lead in the popular musicals of 42nd Street and Street Scene. In 1990, Catherine began her film career at about age 20. Her film debut was in the fantasy movie 1001 Nights. It was a French and Italian production, and she was the female lead, the sexy Scheherazade. Unfortunately, it didn't do well, and it's not a well-known movie today, even with Catherine's fame. She had better luck as a regular on the British TV series The Darling Buds of May. This was a comedy drama series that aired on the ITV network from 1991 to 93. In it, she played the eldest daughter of a family living in the English countryside of the 1950s. The show became the highest rated series in England at the time, and it brought her instant fame. She wasn't yet well known on an international level, but she was certainly a household name in Britain by 1991. The only thing left to conquer was Hollywood, and that was tougher going. As early as 1992, she started appearing in American as well as British productions. Because of her exotic look, Catherine often played Latina characters. In reality, she wasn't Latina at all. Her dad was Welsh, and her mother was Irish. The first time I saw her was in the 1993 comedy movie Splitting Heirs. This is so underrated, and it didn't do well. I think people like it a little better now than they did back then, but it still isn't highly talked about. The movie starred Eric Idle and Rick Moranis as two brothers, initially unaware that they are brothers, separated at birth and not reunited until they are 35. Eric Idle finds out that he is the rightful heir to an aristocratic family, but Rick Moranis was given his enviable title. Catherine is the foxy woman, named Kitty, who aspires to be a duchess and sleeps with both of them. She doesn't care who becomes duke, as long as she becomes a duchess. She was a funny and sexy character, even though she wasn't playing the likable heroine type everyone knows her for. This is a must-see movie, especially if you're a fan of early Catherine Zeta-Jones. In 1995, Catherine felt stymied in Britain. She became the token pretty girl of TV and movies over there, and a subject of tabloids. Catherine wasn't being taken seriously as an actress. However, she was totally unknown in America. so she relocated there in hopes she would be noticed for her talent and not her public image. Once in America, it didn't take long for her to build street cred. In 1996, she got a major supporting role in the superhero movie The Phantom. First of all, this is another awesome movie that flew under the radar. I always liked it. This came before the superhero movie craze of the 2000s. Had it come out later, who knows? It may have been a big hit. Catherine played an interesting character in this movie. Her name was Sala, and she was the sexy leader of a team of female pilots. For much of the movie, she was a henchwoman for the villain. She changes her ways, however, and becomes a good girl towards the end of the movie. It was an important character, and had the movie done well enough for a sequel, she could have been in it. The Phantom didn't do very well at the box office. After that, she was the female lead in the 1996 TV miniseries of Titanic. It appeared on CBS, and she got some acclaim. However, this would be entirely forgotten when the mega successful feature film version of Titanic came out the next year. Despite great performances, Catherine had a hard time finding something that really drove it home to audiences. That changed in 1998. Her breakout performance came in The Mask of Zorro as the leading lady opposite of Antonio Banderas, who played the famous Max Tero. This movie was a fantastic hit and an instant classic. I love this movie, and she was great in it. Right after that came another leading lady part, opposite of Sean Connery, in the action heist movie Entrapment. This came out in 1999 and was another commercial success. She played a sexy insurance agent on the trail of an art thief, played by Connery. It turned out, though, that she was an art thief herself. They worked together on a caper and end up falling for each other. This was an interesting twists and turns kind of movie, and one of the best remembered scenes is when her shapely body is maneuvering through lasers. It would seem Catherine the Great was unstoppable, but after this, her movies would be hit and miss. This wasn't really her fault, it's just that some movies aren't very good. Every actor has a stinker here and there. For Catherine, it came right after Entrapment. In the same year, she was in the horror movie The Haunting. Based on her track record, I went out to see this movie right away. Long story short, it's not a very good movie. It did make money, and wasn't a bomb, but a lot of people don't like this movie. I think it made money only due to the name draw of stars like Catherine and Liam Neeson. She had a part in the modestly successful dramedy called High Fidelity in 2000, but her next monster success was the crime film Traffic later that same year. I know this movie was a huge hit and all that, but personally, I didn't care for it. It's not a reflection on her or any of the cast, I just don't like that type of movie. Those kinds of movies are long and they drag. Catherine played the pregnant wife of an arrested drug dealer and is now running his business. She was actually pregnant at the time, with the son of Michael Douglas. They would later have a daughter. Catherine had met the famous actor in late 1998 and were engaged on New Year's Eve 1999. In late 2000, once Michael's divorce was finalized, they were married in a grand ceremony. They are still married to this day. She and Michael Douglas share the same birthday, but he's 25 years her senior. To be honest, I think Catherine's last really good movie, for a long time, was Entrapment. She was still in successful films, but they just weren't things I wanted to watch, and I don't think any of them were crowd pleasers in the way of Zorro. Her next film was the comedy America's Sweethearts from 2001. It did well enough at the box office, but I certainly don't hear people talking about it today. After that, in 2002, was the musical Chicago, where she played a murderous nightclub singer. That movie was a big hit, but it's not something a lot of guys wanted to watch. As I heard one disc jockey put it, the only good thing about that movie was Catherine Zeta-Jones walking around in next to nothing for 2 hours. And so the trend continued throughout the first half of the 2000s decade. Although I still like Catherine as an actress, her choice of film projects wasn't thrilling me. I was happy when she did a sequel to The Mask of Zorro in 2005 called The Legend of Zorro. This was an awesome movie, and it did make money, but not as much as they hoped. I think this movie would have done better had it not come so much later than the original. 7 years was a long time to wait. Even at that, I was excited about the prospect of more Zorro movies after this with her and Banderas, but it didn't happen. Anybody can say what they want, but this was her next good movie after Entrapment. She was still as funny and heroic as she ever was. This is the type of character I like to see Catherine play. Strangely, after this, she started pulling back on her film work. Her movie appearances became infrequent, and when she did make movies, they weren't quite as successful as her late 1990s to mid-2000s efforts. Catherine chose to focus on her family and her own health, as she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. In 2012, she made her comeback film in the comedy bomb called Lay the Favorite. She had another bomb right after this with the musical comedy Rock of Ages. Then, in 2013, she was in another bomb, the crime thriller Broken City. Her next movie that year was the mildly successful thriller Side Effects, but it was far from a big hit. I'm just saying, another Zorro movie, at this point, may have been in order. Or at least some movie you know a lot of people are going to watch. This was a string of pretty weird movies. Her next good movie was Red 2, also from 2013. It was a sequel to the popular Bruce Willis action comedy hit. Catherine played a prominent character in the movie, a sexy Russian official named Katya. This movie was awesome, and it was the biggest movie she appeared in since No Reservations in 2007. Once again, she appeared in another cool movie, then took another sabbatical from acting. Good grief! She was still as great of an actress as she ever was, but she rarely appeared in great movies on a consistent basis. She has acted on and off since that time, but rarely in anything that makes you go, "Oh wow, cool." In 2022, Catherine became the new Morticia Addams in the Netflix series Wednesday. She only appeared in 2 episodes of the first season, but received widespread acclaim for her casting. Wednesday is a sequel series to The Addams Family, in which the daughter Wednesday is now a teenager and having adventures of her own at a private high school. The series, which is a big hit, is noted for having a darker tone than the original, although there is still a bit of humor in it. The way the show is set up, there is always a chance of more Morticia appearances, and fans are waiting for it. Catherine has done great acting work, and even though some of her movies didn't really take with the masses, or with me personally, I still consider her one of the best actresses the 1990s produced. She's truly talented, and has proven over and over that she has the range to take on different characters in different types of shows. Catherine Zeta-Jones has the ability to play a heroine with a femme fatale personality, and does so in a lot of her acting appearances. This is quite a skill, and one that deems her worthy as a Babe of the Day, Babe of the Day.